Hello, hopefully you are all in the right place. This is the State of the Consortium for Kentucky Libraries Unbound. I'm Katie Justice. I'm the Consortium Coordinator and the Digital Services Librarian at Boone County Public Library. And my program will come to you in two parts. The first part is a recap of all the stuff we've been doing for the last year. And then the other part will be all the new stuff coming towards us all. So yay, pretty pictures. So the 2020-2021 wrap up here. We are at 107 library systems strong. We had 77,000 plus active users. That's individual unique library cards that were used at some point during that year. Total circ, we are at 2.7 million circs. We are part of the Million Circ Club with Overdrive nationally. We had over a million holds placed in 2020-2021, which is crazy cakes as well. Total content credit spent, including anybody spending money in their Advantage collection, is at 239,000. The magazine package for that year cost us 22.5. You see the ebook package, the audiobook package, but look at my lovely circ chart, right? 3% of our circ was video, 26.7% was audio, little tiny sliver of magazines. And the reason I say look at my pretty chart is because when I switched to so far this year, it's an identical chart, but it's based on different numbers. So yeah, ebook, audiobook, almost 50% for each of them. Magazines is a teeny tiny piece of the pie. Video is an even tinier piece of the pie. And that is the video where we had purchased individual titles. That is not where people have signed up for the streaming videos for their Advantage collection. So far this year, we're still 107 members. We have 65,000 plus unique users. So we've almost matched the users and we're only in February. Total circ so far is 1.8 million. Total holds placed is 700,000. And we spent about a quarter, but you notice that magazine package is at 65 grand this year. That's something we're gonna talk about here in a bit because it's gonna be 80 this year, yeah.
So just to be clear, last year, for the whole year, we had like 2.7 million circs, and this year in less than 3 months, we've already got 1.
I don't know, this is fiscal year. So this is July through June.
Okay.
So we're at February, it'll close at June. So we are on track to meet, if not exceed, last year's circ.
But it's still really good.
But it's really good. The active user one is the big kick because 2020-2021 included the the IDC cards being counted as its own user. And then when we got them merged, their real cards counted as a user. So this number, there's no IDC cards listed in that. That is pure actual patrons with actual cards that were issued in our buildings. So that's the IDC cards were the ones we signed up for the phone number when they gave us the IDC program for free during the pandemic. Those cards don't function anymore. The only last vestiges of the IDC program that we see is that a hold placed on an IDC card that was then merged into a real card, the hold is still listed as an IDC checkout. So if you ever are curious if you've got any leftovers there, in the KLU member site on the statistics page, I continue to maintain the monthly numbers for IDC checkout. There's about 400 holds left under the IDC cards, and I'm working on making it so I can get a hold of y'all to tell you whose cards they are. And we'll make a process to move the hold to their real card, depending on how much longer that goes. Top circing titles for last year and so far this year. Exactly what you expect. Where Does the Crawdad Sing? Educated, Midnight Sun. I was actually surprised the best circing ebook in 2020 was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the first book, which is old, like real old. And Hunger Games and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets with audiobook makes sense because the best circing juvenile audiobook in 1920 was Harry Potter 1. And in 2021 was Harry Potter 2. And And right now it's also Harry Potter 2, but I have a feeling Harry Potter 3 will exceed it by the end of the year. So that kind of makes sense. That's parents going, we're listening to an audiobook, we're listening to the age-appropriate Harry Potter audiobook for you, and next year we'll do the next one. Magazines, US Weekly is the weekly, quarterly was Country Living last year. This year it's HGTV Magazine, which is one of the new ones we got when the magazine packages shifted. Actually, juvenile ebook so far this year is the 15th Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. But the really interesting thing is that the YA book so far this year is Total Strangers, which was the Big Library Reads title in the fall. So that one is the one that Overdrive gave us as a simultaneous use for a month. And out of all the stuff that's made these lists, that's the only simultaneous use one that was from Overdrive that has pulled to the list. So that's always interesting. Overdrive changes over the last year. Libby syncs between devices now. It also syncs your wish list from your original login from the home page. At least the very first time it'll offer that. When you're syncing Libby between devices, you want to set Libby up on one device. And then when you put it on a different one, or you take it to libbyapp.com, you want to sign into the new ones using the code that your original instance will generate for you. If you want to see that in action, there's a demonstration on the KLU training page on the member site. Libbyapp.com does completely replicate the Libby experience onto a web browser. This is particularly important because the Overdrive app is dead. If they have it downloaded on their Kindle, they get to keep it until Kindle stops letting it stay there, which probably won't be very long. But they can still access our audiobooks and magazines through libbyapp.com in the Kindle Fire browser. But it's awful, they have to maintain the internet connection for it, but it is still there for them. They, of course, can download ebooks through the Kindle app on their Kindle device. Digital device compatibility is the other shift that happened. In November, Overdrive updated the security on their servers, and it meant that their servers can no longer talk to anything with iOS 9 or lower and Android 4 and lower. So we are now only compatible with iOS 10 and up and Android 5 and up. A lot of people had older than 2015 iPads, the ones that were still on iOS 9. Libby's still there. It'll still download from the App Store, but it can't talk to Overdrive servers. So they get an error message, cannot log in. It stinks, but it's not anything the device did. It's literally a change Overdrive had to do legally, is my understanding, because of part of that shift was data protection for our data that they keep. Breaking news at 6:30 this morning. Literally, you can see the timestamp up in the corner there from the screenshot. Marketplace is getting an overhaul. It's now going to be called Overdrive Hub. It will include something they're calling Newsroom, which will let us put announcements directly onto our Libby page, which means we can do that at the consortium level, or if you're an Advantage Library user and you curate your own Libby page, you can do that on your Libby page under Newsroom. But you can link events you're holding, featured titles that way. They're giving us a lot more power over what Libby looks like. At the Advantage level, you're free to curate that however you want. If you're not Advantage, the consortium curated by me. But if you'd like to see something up there, like if you'd really like to feature a particular carol of books that's themed, feel free to send me that. I will put it up. Because right now I come up with 4 carols of books every month. Yes?
You might explain the Advantage for people who are interested.
Oh, okay. So there are 2 levels to the consortium. Everybody belongs to the consortium collection. So all the simultaneous use packages are part of the consortium. And basically, as a member, when you pay your membership dues, part of your dues is the content credit you see on your bill. That is the money every year that is meant to go to books that everybody shares equally, like we're one big happy family. On top of that, if you have extra funds, you can have what's called an Advantage library. Advantage libraries let you buy additional books for your patrons only initially, or this is where you can turn on cost per circ. This is where you could turn on the streaming video databases that are cost per circ, where you could add universal class, the artist works, there's a legal forms thing, method learning's on there, Craftsy is on there. Those are all at the Advantage level because the consortium can't afford them at the consortial level. Much like the magazines packages are going to cost us 80 grand this year if we continue it. Those all cost 50, 60, 70 grand for the consortium to have it, but they cost individual libraries based on their size. So like Boone is a tier 4, we're one of the big boys. There's only 2 tier 4 libraries. Our Artist Works subscription costs $1,500. For the consortium to have it, it's $15,000. For a tier 1, it's $5,000. For a tier 2, it's $750. For a tier 3, it's $1,000. So all of that stuff, most of it's the stuff that was folded in when they bought RB Digital. That's Advantage only right now. If you're interested in any of that stuff, or you already had that stuff when the merge happened, they made you an Advantage account so that you could maintain that, because that is your money separate from your membership dues. So like like the tiniest of the libraries in our consortium pays $3,000 a year to be a member. $1,800 of that is for content credit for them to buy books for everybody to use. That's all the commitment you will ever need to make financially to KLU. If you want more, if you have the budget, that's when you get an Advantage collection. And then that stuff circs just to your patrons, unless you're very, very nice and want to share things. And we're going to talk about sharing in a minute too. But yeah, this just came out. They're going to premiere it at PLA next week. And when they get the first round of more information up, I'll be emailing everybody in the listserv. Everybody's a member of the listserv, right? You've signed up. Okay. Everybody knows the KLU member website. If not, come talk to me. But the listserv sign-up's right on that. We have so many members now that Google will not let me send an email to everybody. So we made a listserv. And then it also lets you, because you can respond back to the listserv and talk to everybody too. And Google wouldn't let us do that either, because I was sending emails out to 300 people. The next big thing in news is I have found how to get Advantage Plus numbers for everybody. So the system, Overdrive system, counts an Advantage Plus circ where Boone shared this ebook title because it wasn't circing for us, and somebody from Campbell checked it out. Overdrive tells the system with circulation, gives that circulation credit to Campbell. And there was, previous to when I found it buried very deeply in a report, no way for Boone to know that their book circed. It's just that Campbell got the circulation, we didn't get anything, which is not how ILL works. If it's a physical book, Boone would get a circ for sending it to Campbell, Campbell would get a circ for giving it to their patron, right? I have found them, haha. So, I mean, if this is live data from last July, August, and September, we're talking somewhere in the range of 45 to 47,000 circs a month that we're only counting to the secondary library. And now we will have data that we can put in the ILL field on our annual reports for the people who are sharing. These are the people who have been sharing. And whatever they're, is somebody from McCracken County in the room? No, poop. I need to hug them. No, seriously, 13,000 circs from McCracken County in their shared collection.
That means other libraries borrow.
Other libraries have borrowed in a month 13,000 of McCracken's titles. They automatically share all of their audiobooks. It is hardcore, yeah.
Is there a way to differentiate, like, we don't share right now, because I can't satisfy my own needs.
Yeah.
But, especially for the new ones, but I wouldn't mind sharing books that are over like a couple of years old.
You share titles in the Advantage Collection on an individual title basis. So you can set up a plan where it will auto share for you after, when it meets a certain criteria. Like you can say OCOU titles, the ones that will never go away, that you own forever, that are over 5 years old, auto share, and it'll auto share forever for you. Or you can go in and make an individual title shared. Once it's shared, it can't be unshared. But you completely control that on a title level if you want to. I know a lot of people when this started were reluctant to do that, or their boards were reluctant to do that because they weren't going to get any credit for it. This is the credit. I figured out a way to get credit to the sharing library.
Is there a video out there to show you how to share that?
There's 2 different training videos talking about how Advantage Plus works that I did. But if you want an in-depth thing, I will do a one-on-one specifically with you. Mm-hmm. Yes, Zoom is my friend and yours. So this is the next big piece. I'm launching this today with you all in an effort to make it so that we can afford things like the $80,000 magazine package, which we cannot support through the established content credit. I want to add an addendum to our policies to include the option of a pledge model. So the pledge model would work in 2 scenarios. One is that enough Advantage libraries are already buying that thing that they have exceeded how much it costs. So if 15 of us are buying artist works and all 15 of us together equals more than 15 grand, we can all pitch in together, buy it at the individual price, or if there's more than that, buy it a little cheaper than our individual price, but get everybody in the state access. It would be something that renews every year, and it would be evaluated every year, and actually Artist Works is the best. I have a full example of this a little later. We are overpaying for Universal Class right now. So that's option A, is enough of us are already subscribing that we can get it for the whole consortium at that price or a little cheaper than what we're already paying. Option B is this new thing is great. The magazine package is great. We have awesome magazine circ numbers, but we don't have the funds as a consortium as a whole to support 80 grand. 80 grand means $600 per library under the current structure of how we do shared resources, and that is almost all the content credit for half a year for our tier 1 libraries, and that's 48% of our libraries. So that means no new titles from July to December, basically, from half the consortium because we're supporting the magazine package. That's a little shaky. Here's the other option. So the idea behind this will be that there'll be a timeline of how we decide if here's the package, here's how much it would cost as a whole. If your library is interested, what could you put towards it? And then there's procedure and steps to make that work. This is actually how we paid for magazines last year, except it was a bunch of me scrambling and crying and calling people because it had never been done before. And I want rules established for me and for you all, because that also means if there's something you and your region of libraries is super interested in, we can initiate it through the pledge model. We'll have the procedure in place. So here's the example. So Universal Class's annual pricing right now, for the consortium to have it would be 40 grand. And then each individual tier, again, tier 4 is just Boone and Campbell. That's a big scary number. It's just Boone and Campbell. Almost everybody falls into tier 1 and tier 2. I think the Boone, Campbell, and then 7 other libraries are tier 3. Everybody else is 2 or 3, or 2 or 1. But what that means is right now, currently paying for Universal Class, the individual libraries altogether are paying $46,000. And for $40,000, the whole consortium could have it. So everybody currently paying for it, if we activated the pledge model, would save $240, splitting the $6,000 extra evenly between them. But then everybody gets Universal Class for a year. Definitely something to consider. With this, because Universal Class is an established product a lot of us brought in when the merge happened, we've got to work out the timing of it because nobody's subscription ends at the same time. So we'd need a little bit extra lead time to make that work. But some of the new stuff, like they're getting ready to add a new database they're getting ready to add Canopy. Like Overdrive now owns Canopy. So at some point, we're going to get Canopy integration into Libby. when that happens, it's definitely something that this would be the only way we could afford it, but it's definitely certainly worth looking at. And that would give us a confirmed set date to where we would launch all together, which would make the process of this run easy. Canopy is a streaming video platform. Sorry.
Like
Yeah.
Hoopla.
No. Different from Hoopla, because Hoopla is everything. This is just video, but it's closer in content to a Netflix than some of the other ones that are offered. Like there are popular mainstream films on Canopy. Yes?
Do you have any idea who paid for Universal Class not through this? Do you have any idea?
Starting this year, you'll pay through Overdrive. Like Overdrive issued boons. Ours got cheaper.
Okay, so generally you're going to pay less if we're doing it through.
Yeah. So Boone's Universal Class bill had been $6,000. When we got invoiced in December for our renewal, it was the $425.
Okay, and so-
Allen County went from 1,500 or 1,800 or 1,500 to 1,000.
Yeah.
I just renewed it.
Do you have to go through Libby interface to get them?
If you have the link already, you get to keep the link. Like they didn't take our link away. But
database.
As a database. But the separate link that you had for your website, my understanding is if you've got it, it'll be maintained. If you didn't have it, it'll be the link through Libby. And the link through Libby's there. It's a 30-day checkout in Libby, as opposed to being a pure sign-in like it is on the website. This was just, she gave me the numbers of all of the subscriptions that KLU members had, and this was the one where the math worked out fastest for me to give as an example. So here's my plan for the timeline. Like this will be the official piece put into our policies, is that 2.5 months before we'd purchase it or renew an existing package, I would send out a survey. Hey, here's the data, here's what this is, who's interested, and if you're interested, can you put money towards it? Not how much money can you put towards it, just can you put money towards it? At the 2-month mark, if there's enough people who said yes, then I'm gonna formally initiate the pledge system, which will be that I send out like the official form where you tell me exactly how much your library is willing to kick towards this. At a month out, I get the first 2 weeks, I confirm all of those. Like I will get the form and then I will call you and make you tell me over the phone to confirm again that that is the amount you can afford. If we reach week 2 and we're a little bit under, much like we did with the magazines this year, if we're within a range that is reasonable for the consortium to cover the rest of it, I will put a vote in the field for a week for a specific amount that would come out of content credit. So if we get down to it and we're $15,000 short, 15,000 divided by 107 is not a whole lot. I'll say, hey, can we add this as a package? We have a week to respond. Majority rules follows the original voting plan for that. And then week 4, I announce to everybody, we've got it. I'll be sending out your stuff if you're paying extra. Everybody else is gonna have this much taken out on this date. And then at purchase, which will still be June or July and January, because I don't wanna be pulling content credit if it's not the fresh pot of content credit from anybody. I will do what I did this year, which is I will go into the consortium simultaneous use account that was made purely for that purpose, and I will issue content credit purchasing invoices for the individual library's amount that they pledged. And this is not what'll be pulled from the content credit, but what they actually pledged in, cashy money fresh from that. I will send you that invoice. You will fill out the invoice and send it into Overdrive. Overdrive will apply it to this account to that purchase, which is exactly how magazines worked this year. Boone pledged an extra $10,000. I made the purchase request for $10,000, or purchase content credit form for $10,000 on the SU account. I filled it all out. I turned it into my bookkeeper. They sent in that check. We had 10 libraries pledge additional funds to the magazine collection to get it through this year because they dropped the bomb on us that it was going to be 80 grand. But yeah, so libraries, you'll get an invoice from me as opposed to an invoice on your account but you'll pay it the same way you pay all the other invoices, and it'll be applied to this account. Hunky-dory, all is done. Yay, extra stuff. But those are the two scenarios we would activate the pledge model on. Super awesome thing that we can't afford to split evenly between the 107 of us with the existing content credit, and therefore we must raise additionals, or enough advantage libraries are paying for it anyways. Let's make it work make it work at the consortial level with them paying, because it should give them a discount and give everybody access. The timeline for this to become rules, the vote's going to go live on Monday. You'll get an email from me through the listserv. It'll be posted on the KLU member website with all of the supporting documentation, the official wording that'll be added to the policies. And it's an up, down, yes or no vote. Voting will close April 21st. You do get a whole month to think about this. This is a policy change. It does require a 2/3 majority in favor of adding it, as opposed to the new normal simple majority, which is also why you get a month. Go talk to your directors, go talk to your board, whoever you need to talk to about adding this. This is just adding it to the rules. This is not making it the way we do everything all the time, and it's not making it a guarantee that it'll even be activated. But it needs to be written down. It needs to be in the rules for you all's benefit, for my benefit as the coordinator, for all of us. Because if it's not written down and we go off the cuff with something, somebody's going to get confused, and there's too much money involved for that. We need rules. The magazine thing was completely seat of my pants and crazy, and only happened because if we didn't do it right away, we were going to lose magazines, and you all had no way of getting something else in place. So yeah, make sure you're signed up for the listserv. That's going to be how I contact you. So if you go to bcpl.org/_/KLU, which I'm actually going to click on my link just so you.
Katie, if you're buying digital magazines today, it is significantly less expensive if we do this the way we did it last year, because we're a tiny little library, and yet it was a cost savings for us to do the magazine.
As the consortium, as opposed to doing Flipster on your own. It just used to be a lot cheaper too. Like I said, 2 years ago, we paid $22,000. Now they want $80,000 because we can't pick and choose the titles. It's all 4,000 titles or no titles. That was a shift in Overdrive.
I know you were speaking with them about that. Has there been any response from them on whether or not they might offer a pick and choose package for us at some point?
As of right now, it sounds like what happened is it's not that they inherited all of the patron contracts from RB Digital, it's that they inherited all of the publisher contracts from RB Digital. So right now, as it stands with their contracts with those publishers, it's an all or nothing deal.
So they're not allowed by the...
They're not allowed by the publishers to bust that up yet, but I'm not sure how much longer those contracts stay in play. So it'll be a couple years before we see a smaller package option if it ever happens again. It is less work on their end to just click one button to turn magazines on for you. And they, to some extent, have us over a barrel, because if we don't get magazines as a consortium, the Advantage library users can get them as an Advantage library package. I don't know the other ones. I know a Tier 4 library would pay $17,000, which may or may not be cheaper than us going to Flipster on our own. But I want to make sure you all have time to do that, which is why we're launching this now. If that's, so you're here. So has everybody seen this website? If you haven't, please find the website. But you'll notice right here on the homepage, the very first important form is the listserv sign up. Super, super important to sign up to the listserv. Like I said, if I need to tell the whole consortium something, that is how I tell them. Now, beyond that, under voting is going to be where you see any votes. And the pledge model stuff will be included this eventually. Like I still have the sim use packages for January up on here, but that's what it'll look like. It'll be information and then the voting form. I just haven't updated that because I haven't had to. Somebody asked about training stuff or videos or how to do stuff. I have not started sessions for this year. Actually, if you have any ideas for trainings you would like to see, I'm planning on resetting that, but there are 6 training videos on specific things. There is one on Advantage Plus on this training page.
They're worth your time.
And the live ones are really, really fun. It's every second Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. when I have them scheduled. I don't have any scheduled yet this calendar year. But as soon as I come across them, they're there. You just go down here. There's that last vestiges of the IDC card circ there. And if you ever wonder, these are lovely pie charts. These are interactive too. So this is circulation by library for 2020, 2021. And you just like, where are you? So you have, the IDC is this big piece of pie there. Shouldn't be there. But yeah, so like that's Boone's part of it. And I'm going to do those every year because I like them. And they're pretty. Anytime you see a chart on here, there's also going to be a tab marked data where you can get the raw data too. And then that's me. Hopefully by now you've all found all of this stuff. And okay, that's fine. But yeah, kjustice@bcpl.org. Unless it's been set up on your end, if your patrons have a question and they use the get support in Libby or in Overdrive or from the KLU website, I get those emails through a generic digital support email, and I tend to send them your way, or if it's something that I can't fix. But that is also if you see something from digital support at bcpl.org, that's me forwarding a specific patron issue to you. I tend to go, oh, you'll need to contact your home library directly for that. What's your home library? I'll get you your thing, or get you their contact information, or I'll drop them your website if they tell me, because they don't always tell me. A lot of times, my card's not working. I'm like, who's your card with? What's your card? Or they'll give me the card number and not their home library. I'm like, okay, well, that's not a Boone card, so yeah. That's the other reason why that member information form that I have you fill out every July is very important. Because that's why I asked for your card nomenclature, so I can say, oh, you belong to Warren. You belong to, Marywood, or Marywood Weldon, or Woodford. Let me send you their way because I can't fix their cards. But yeah, is there any? How are we doing? Oh, we've got time. Yes.
I'm always amazed at how much you do.
Thank you.
And it scares me. Yeah. Amazing.
Thanks.
It also scares me because if you decide that you're going to move to New Zealand, we've really got problems. So, just consider in the next couple of years getting somebody else to help train you or help work with you.
Well,
that's just
I'm going to throw this out there with my director sitting in the back. I'm from Boone County. I live half a mile from inside my garage to the library I work at. My whole family's there back like 12 generations. I'm not moving. So I also have zero managerial interest at all.
But given COVID.
Given COVID, yeah, no, I get that.
Bad thing moving to New Zealand. There's other things.
Yeah. Well, so
It's the same fear we have with
I greatly appreciate the support and everything. If something ever happened to me, the person who had my job, the first 2 people to have my job still work at Boone, because that's Carrie and Jennifer Gregory. They're still there. My direct superior, Rich Webster, who's our digital services branch manager, can do 85% of my job if I go on vacation, much less anything else. So we do have support there. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to Disney World in June. It's fine.
Katie was on vacation
when the world closed down?
Yes. It was my first wedding anniversary, and I was at home with my husband, and I got the call, the world is closing. Come get a laptop and run the consortium from your living room.
So I guess I would say then, thank you to Phone Line.
Yeah. I mean, Carrie is the mother of the system. She's the originator. So, we've got backup. And on top of that, you've got Michael Gregory at Campbell. Michael, husband of Jennifer, did this job for Campbell before he became the new tech services person at Campbell. So we've got that backup right at hand too. There's lots of people who could take over in a pinch. And to be honest, there's more of you all who manage your Advantage collections. You all understand a lot more than you think you do. Because all the shift of what you're doing at your Advantage level, it's just thinking it as the whole picture rather than just your building. You know all the circ data and deciding how to pull holds and all of that stuff between the policies and what you already know how to do because you're doing it for your building, it carries over. It really does. I've got the big picture hat and then the Boone hat that I put on occasion.
Speaking of which, we already talked about Advantage Plus sharing, and I think I brought this up to you in one of the Zoom meetings.
Mm-hmm.
About you already have a really good model for
when to share.
So, is there anything forthcoming? Like, can we get some?
I don't know
guidelines?
if I have a good model so much as an entirely ridiculous model. So when Advantage Plus started, I'm like, how do I make Advantage Plus as complicated as possible for myself, but as fair to my patrons as possible? So I have rules about a metered title that's metered by time, that's 24 months, and it's 3 months in, I will look at it to see if there are boon holds, and if there aren't boon holds, I will turn it on Advantage Plus. Or 6 months in, I'll turn it on Advantage Plus. Or if it's part of a series, it's probably never going to Advantage Plus because it's a series and we're just going to keep perpetuating that. Or if I know a movie's coming out, because I'm a crazy person who likes movies and pays attention to that stuff. And then I have the generic, oh, it's OCOU, there are no boon holds, it's more than 6 months old, boom, to the share. Other people, like McCracken County, for example, just decided it's OCOU, it's an audiobook, we're just gonna share it. Your patron still gets it first. The most your patron is ever gonna wait on something is 21 days. Because that is that they managed to put themselves on hold 2 seconds after your copy went to somebody else who decided to check it out for 21 days and keep it the whole time. So there's some more to consider when it's something that's checkout based or time based, because that really does affect whether or not your patron might get it. Because if you're gonna share something that's 26 checkouts and done, and it's the 25th checkout, and then your patron gets put on hold, that's an issue to consider. But that also might not be something you care about if the book's 6 years old and you're sitting on 25 checkouts. So I'm more than happy to share the Boone plan. It desperately needs to be revised because it's the first one I wrote in 2017. And I struggle to make sure that I have the time to go in and pursue it because absolutely none of it is automated. And the automation is actually pretty nice if your plan is approvable to that. Being able to give you ILL numbers that you can put in your annual report this year, because we're not going to worry about getting our own item line. We're just going to give you the circs that you can just add to your ILL circ number, and then put the note. This is a significantly different number because it now includes Advantage shared titles from Kentucky Libraries Unbound. And then when Jay, blows a gasket, he can come talk to me and I can show him the numbers, and he probably will give us our own line next year. But if I can get you the numbers, we should use them. Because again, 40,000 circs that should be counting for the people who bought the item too. And if it was a physical item, would already be getting it. I want y'all to have the numbers. They're going to be something I run every week or every month. So you'll get the generic everybody circ numbers. You'll get the IDC update. You'll get the collection number, and you'll get that number every month. And that's the page it'll be on. I have to backtrack, because again, I did July, August, and September as like a demo. And then we didn't hear anything. So I'm just like, you know what, I can do it, we're gonna do it. And, you know, gird our loins about it. But yeah, because I'm hoping, I know a lot of people when it started, they went to their board and the board said no. Because they were told they won't get circ stats for it. They're getting circ stats from other people who have shared, but they're not getting their, like I get the, especially when they're like $107 audiobooks, not being able to say that the circ is your circ, that you're sharing the $107 audiobook that you bought. That's a hard right turn. Like I couldn't justify it to our board either necessarily. Carrie's like, yeah, go for it. This looks reasonable. But especially with people with teeny tiny budgets where you've really you gotta mark every dime for these people. I want you all to have the numbers to back it up. And I'm hoping it means that a lot of the dead titles that I can't weed because somebody owns an Advantage copy get shared. Because right now, that's what's holding a lot of those libraries back. Especially when it's an OCOU. They have the one OCOU copy on that record, and the ones we bought were metered, and now we can't buy metered, and we can't buy OCOU, and it sits there, and I can't weed it from the consortial collection because it would weed it from their Advantage. And I'd never take a book you paid for away from you, unless it's super old, in which case you don't want it anyways. But yeah, how many libraries are in this room? So.
I thought you wanted us to raise our.
Yeah, well, because you can't raise your hands. You just kind of just like a round off count. But I'm Boone, yay. You're from? Alan.
There's three of us from Madison.
Madison. Jessamine. Beth. You're Boone. Oldham. Boyle. Rowan. Urban. Huh? Oh, you're all of them. Okay, well, yeah, so 9 libraries represented out of 107. It's about what I get when I do trainings. It's not always the same 9, but it's about 9. Okay, we got about 5 minutes. Anybody have any other questions? Random, silly, stupid questions?
What's OCOU?
Okay, so when you purchase ebooks or audiobooks from Marketplace, there are 2 ways you can buy them. Well, 3 ways you can buy them. OCOU means 1 copy, 1 user. You buy it once, you own it forever, but it can only serve to 1 person at a time. Okay. Metered access by time, metered access by checkout. It's usually 26 checkouts. It's usually either a year or 2 years, and it's however many times it circs, 1 person at a time in that time period, or it's 26 checkouts, 1 person at a time. Can you tell that's something I say a lot? Yeah, I will say one of the best things that came out of the pandemic is they've realized that they should do both. They should be OCOU and a year's access, because that made our holds list dramatically better. It made everything dramatically cheaper because you'd buy the OCOU copy for $65, but for $27 you can have an extra copy for a year, which meant we bought 2 or 3 OCOUs for the consortium because that book will last forever. And then the rest of the holds could be fulfilled by 1 year at half price, which really, really helped on like the Patterson titles that came out during the pandemic because I could buy double with consortium money to get through the 500 people on hold.
I feel like the boycott of, was it
Macmillan.
Right before that really helped.
Yeah, Macmillan. As a industry, we scared the bejesus out of Macmillan before the pandemic, and we stopped buying audiobooks as a consortium from them. There was consortiums in North Carolina who stopped buying physical books because of the ebook issue with them. So. That's interesting. I do know that a lot of states are now looking into the ebook to library price gouging situation. We'll see how that goes. I'd imagine it'll take quite a few a lot of states for it to actually get where we need it to go. But I know that Overdrive, the thing to remember as you start to see that and if you start to advocate for those things, Overdrive does not set any of the audiobook prices. They hate it too. Steve Potash has been pushing for publishers to offer multi-formats forever. He did not understand why they wanted it one way or the other way and never all the ways. He also thinks the pricing is ridiculous, but at least the mixed model structure would alleviate that a little. Because it's very different to say, I have 500 holds and you're going to make me pay $65 a copy for OCOUs when I could pay, giving me the option of buying a year for 27 alleviates a lot of that issue. It's still ridiculous, but it helps. And $65 for something you own forever is fine. I mean, how many times, I'm going to have to rebuy the first James Patterson Murder Club book every time that physical book wears out, forever. So buying 5 copies of it that circ forever in my digital collection at $65 a pop is completely reasonable, in my opinion, as long as I can buy half price for 1 year to get rid of the 500 holds first. So yeah, it's interesting. Steve Potash is a character. If you ever get the chance to meet him at a convention, I highly recommend it. He is hilarious and amazing. And he loves libraries because his wife is a librarian. If anyone's going to PLA or ALA, make sure you look for the Overdrive party. The Overdrive party is the best. It is always the best. Ooh. Yes, party. But yeah, so that's my spiel. We are right on the money, I think, pretty close. Thank you. Don't forget about the business meeting, if that is something you'd be interested in. It's always interesting to see what's going on at the state.